This was a 15-day cruise to the Western and then to the Eastern Caribbean. All of these places in Mexico, Honduras, Belize have all been expanded, and now when you arrive at a port, it's like going into a little shopping center. So it's very organized. These shopping centers typically have Tanzanite and International Diamonds and all the other standard shops that you would see any place in the Caribbean. Following are some of the stores and areas that we were looking at in the village, the shopping area, and then after that we proceeded to go to a little town outside of the shopping area for a better look at the country. This is a typical little market down in Latin America. I thought the signage on the next shot was very neat, where it showed you what parts of the pig were considered the kind of cuts you want. This was a neat little bar that had swings for seats in it. This was a nice little restaurant in a village that we went to, and we had lunch together there, I think for like $10, and that included a beer. So it was very inexpensive. These are just some more pictures from around the village where we were. Our next stop was Belize City, and it's really not that much of a town. They have some pretty rough areas there. However, we did take a ride around town, the city, and it was so-so. You can see the bars on the windows and the doors. That kind of gives you an idea of the culture in that area. If you want to go to Belize, the nice areas, you need to go out to the islands, where in the reefs, where they're northern part of the area. Interesting, they're doing some wind generation there. It's probably being sponsored by some other country. Roatan is another one of these places that has been sanitized for visitors. The entrances takes you up to a nice shopping center and a lot of gift shops and Tanzanite and Diamonds International, that sort of thing. So we decided to get out of town and go visit a village, which we did, and we'll talk about that in a moment. This was a guide that we rented for about a fourth of the price that they wanted up in the main part of the tourist area, and he took us into town. Actually, it turned out to be a rather guarded area. There were police walking around with shotguns with pistol grips on it. But, you know, this was a real life down there, and it was better portrayed by visiting the village. found a shopping bag with our names on it, so we couldn't help but make a purchase of it. They had quite a lengthy walk from the ship into the shopping area there, and they had little carts that you could ride in, like a tuk-tuk. And this was another big area. The building there was all full of shops and things. After finishing up our Western Caribbean portion of our cruise, we returned to Fort Lauderdale for the day to replenish, and then we started off to the Eastern Caribbean. Antigua was a little bit nicer in that they had a concentration of shops in the downtown area, but you could walk a block or so away and find the local shops and merchants, so it was kind of nice. The area coming in had a lot of derelict ships out there, which I thought were kind of neat, so I included those in our pictures. St. Kitts had another one of these concentrated shopping areas, but we didn't really stay there. We went out on a tour, and we found that to be rather pleasant at a plantation, and you'll see that in a minute or so. These are birds nesting in a bush that has a very heavy thorns, and they're nesting there to protect them from the animals, which I thought was kind of interesting. This is an old sugar plantation that was converted into botanical gardens and so forth, and we had a lunch in there that was supposed to be native food, which was kind of neat. The original home was full of termites, so they tore it down and they had a faithful reconstruction of the sugar plantation home. So it shows how people lived in that period of time. It's very grandiose. Now we're going to show you photographs around the garden area and plantings. It was very well landscaped and quite beautiful. We decided to visit St. John Island versus staying in St. Thomas because we had been there many times and we thoroughly enjoyed it. We were supposed to stop at Grand Turk Island, however the weather turned bad and we were unable to make the port.